Mike, as from the Defence and Security Accelerator, has very kindly agreed to join, just with the opportunity to talk through the cybersecurity related elements of what DASA are up to and the innovation focus areas. So, Mike, 20 of your finest minutes.
Yeah, thanks very much. Well, hopefully you can see my slides.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks. Yeah, so I'm Mike Madden. I work for the Defence and Security Accelerator. I know from the invitation list that I've actually spoken with one or two of you, and perhaps had dealings in the past at various events. But I'll just give you a quick lowdown. Firstly, on DASA, just a very, very quick introduction, but then give you a few insights into what we're doing that's related to cybersecurity, how that links back to DSTL, and so on. So just to give you some insights, really a bit of a call to action for you and your networks. If there's anything in this that is useful to you, then I'd be delighted to have a chat with you about potentially bidding into us. So we were created probably close to 5 years ago now as a result of a previous defence and security review. And our role is to find and fund exploitable innovation for the benefit of defence and security. We do have a bit of a tagline to support UK prosperity as well. The important thing here, I would just say, is we do innovation. Some of you who have worked with defence before will know that the other parts of defence do the buying of kit and services, whether it's information systems or hardware. That's done by other parts of defence. We do the innovation bit, so up to what some of you might understand as technology readiness level 6. In other business language, what you might describe as a minimum viable product. That's kind of where we take people to. And we're part of a wider innovation ecosystem across defence and security. You'll see across the top there our customers. So the Ministry of Defence, reasonably easy to access, although there are difficulties, but Army, Navy, Air Force, Strategic Command, and the various supporting agencies, quite a unified entity in many regards, in particular when you compare it with security, where we deal with Home Office and all of its sub-departments, including the Centre for Protection of National Infrastructure, Department for Transport. We've done stuff with public health. We do stuff with Border Force. We've worked with NCSC and GCHQ, and so it goes on, as well as regional police forces. So security is slightly more difficult, but nonetheless, they're our customers. They come to us, their problems and cash. We go back to them with their solutions, and we get the solutions from people in communities like your own. So whether it's a sole trader upwards to a strategic supplier, or an academic collaboration with others, as we see with some of the partnerships and edge activities, that's where we get our solutions from. That's one of the reasons why I, as the regional if you like, innovation consultant for DASA in the southwest of England, come out and do activities like this to try and push the message, really. There's a number of ways that people can get involved. Just a quick gallop through this. We do market explorations, which is a bit of a sort of horizon scan tech watch activity, but it's interactive. We ask you to come to us with your solutions to a defined problem, usually no cash transaction. But I would say it's useful to be involved because market explorations are often used to shape future competitions that we run. So it's kind of be in it to win it. If you can help shape the competition, then you're going to be in a good position to maybe compete later. The two main funding things we do are themed and open competitions. Themed is customer pull, open is innovator push. We have a variety of competitions running all the time. The open call is open right now, and I will talk about that a bit more in a moment. Themed competitions, demand-led, therefore ad hoc, but we do run them regularly. And since we started, I think we've run something like 80 discrete competitions across a full spectrum of activities, including many cyber, big data, information assurance type activities, all the way through to social psychology. So quite a range, and I would urge you to take a look if you haven't looked before. We also do networking events, and we have a very small team which is designed to help people that we have funded mainly to become business ready. In other words, to be able to scale and commercialize their idea once we have finished with them on their innovation project. Now, I mentioned the open call. I'm going to dwell on the open call a little bit over the coming few slides because it sets a bit of a context for some of the cyber opportunities that are open right now. So the open call is pretty much any idea, anytime, innovator push, you come to us. We run 5 or 6 cycles a year. The current cycle, which is open, closes on the 5th of January. And within that cycle, we have 2 lanes. One is defense, one is security. And you can see them listed on the slide here. Now, within defense, we also have 2 sub lanes or channels, depending on the maturity of your idea. So emerging is low maturity, rapid is up to TRL6, higher maturity. And you might expect that attracts different expectations with regard to the funding we would expect you to ask for, but also the duration of your project. Security is definitely worth a look. The nice thing about cyber, of course, and I don't need to tell you this, is it's completely cross-cutting. So cross-sector, but also within defense, it is the one cross-cutting aspect or domain, we call them domains, of defense operations. So whether you're on the land, in the air, at sea, or working in space, cyber cross-cuts the whole lot. And that's why, with both open call channels, there's potentially opportunities for people in your community to bid in. So a little bit more on the open call just now. But first of all, I will say there's little squares on here. The squares that are basically color coded for subsequent slides. So when you refer back through the slide pack, you'll be able to make sense of, well, what does that dark blue square mean? It basically correlates forward with some slides that are to follow. So hold that thought for now. Within the open call, although we do welcome any idea anytime, the truth is that we have what we call innovation focus areas. So within the open call, an opportunity for us to communicate with our innovators what sort of things the customer is particularly interested in right now. So although it's open, any idea anytime, we can see here that we have 2, there are 3 actually, I'll show you on another slide, 2 cyber-related innovation focus areas. So what we're saying is, although it's any idea anytime, please do come to us if you have something to offer in these particular domains. Now, these are normally associated with a defined customer, so that's great for us because we know who to go and ask if you come to us with one of these ideas, but it also has some cash ring-fenced for these particular innovation focus areas. If you pitch into the main open call, you'll go into a centralized pot, whereas these come with a little bit of funding assigned. You can see here there are 2 on this page. One is about autonomous resilient cyber defense. More on this in a moment, but hopefully the headings of these will be meaningful to people in your community. Hands up, I'm not a cyber expert. I understand it in lay terms, but so don't ask me any awkward questions, but I can certainly put you in touch with people who are within the defense community. There's another one on reducing the cyber attack surface. And the third that we're running right now is a military systems information assurance. And some of that I'll touch upon in subsequent slides anyway. This is the newer of the 3. The other 2 were launched probably 2 months ago now. This was launched 3 weeks ago or so. But as you can see, they're all aligned with the open call cycle. So these ones for the current cycle close on the 5th of January. What I would say is don't panic because we run subsequent cycles. These innovation focus areas will endure beyond the 5th of January, unless it says otherwise on our website. So you don't have to rush to get something in for the 5th. The subsequent cycle, which I think closes in March, will be available to you if you want to have a more deliberate approach at putting an idea together. Now, what I wanted to do is basically read across the DASA thing into what DSTL is doing. So some of you may well have been at the the defensive cyber event up in Manchester a week or so ago. I can't remember. Some great slides there, great presentations from the defense community about their cyber programs, and from a defense perspective for procurement and research and innovation, there's 2 programs, which is I think it's cyber defense and cyber resilience, I think, or cyber operations and cyber resilience are the 2 main strands of the defense program. There are some slides, they're in the public domain. If anyone wants to see them, I can probably send them. So Robin, please do ask if anyone approaches you. But the DSTL manifestation
Mike, yeah, if you could forward them across to me, Mike, all the links to them, and I'll circulate them. Thank you.
Will do, not a problem. So the DSTL manifestation of those central defense programs is DSTL's own program, more of which in a moment. But what we're what the DSTL program is trying to do now, you can see at the bottom of that slide, is explore the convergence of cyber hardening, crypto techniques, but also autonomous cyber defense. And the autonomous thing is really, really important, and that'll become clearer on the following slides. And essentially what DSTL is trying to do, support defense, is by reducing the attack surface is one thing. So you saw cyber attack surface on the previous slide, but also raise the barrier to entry for anyone who wants to do us harm in the cyber world. Now that's manifested in these three pillars, if you like, within the DSTL cyber program. You'll see reduce the cyber attack surface, information assurance, and autonomous resilient cyber defense. And with little statements, which I won't read, you can read for yourself, and I dare say they're meaningful to you. Now, if I just refer back to the slides I showed you earlier on with those little squares, that's the color code. So essentially, our innovation focus areas broadly match the requirements of the DSTL program. And the nice thing about that is, of course, the DSTL program is essentially the customer for those innovation focus areas. So if you come to me with something that might align to one of those, I can then find a good home for it and ask for a view on whether a full proposal, for instance, would be welcomed into the open call. Now you can see there is something here about hardening the system, protecting the information, defending at pace. And at the bottom of the slide, you'll see the aspirational timeline. So we're not talking about asking you to do slightly different stuff with stuff that's out there already. The program is looking for next gen. And if you look to the right there, the autonomous resilient cyber defense, this is generation after next. Now, I don't have the words in my mind to eloquently explain, but someone put it to me as a nice metaphor, if you like. Look, when you look at DNA coding in biological warfare, for instance, you're looking for sort of certain features that you can then latch onto and then do something about. But the way people do it in the bio world is they're trying to do that automatically rather than have just a defined catalog of bio agents that you compare against. If there are characteristics of something nefarious in the bio world, then wouldn't it be nice if artificial intelligence and machine learning could identify those characteristics and then say, that looks like it's probably going to do us harm, I'm going to go after it. And I suppose that's broadly where we're trying to get with next gen. So rather than comparing software against catalogs, we're looking at the embedded, if you like, DNA. I don't know if the metaphor works, but hopefully it will mean something to you guys. But it's essentially gen after next, which is again harks back to the DSTL lane to look for innovation for the benefit of defense and security rather than buying stuff that's often off the shelf. Now, if I move on to the next slide, you'll see the color coding transfers through to this slide. In the middle there, you can see multiple tens of millions of funding over the coming years for this program. And you can see in the dark blue, for instance, the next gen stuff that I was referring to just now, ideas like context-aware decision-making, autonomous decision-making. This is autonomous decision-making about detected harm and doing something about it. There's other things in there which don't mean much to me, but might do to you. Automated forensics, another one that might be of interest. But this is just to give you a broad feel. Now, the devil's always in the detail, more on that in a moment, but this hopefully gives you a feel for the shape of the program and therefore what potential opportunities exist for you and your communities. Now, the way DSTL is doing this, of course, I've mentioned that DASA is one of your possible conduits for getting innovations into us, putting proposals in, getting funding for your work or for your associates. But there's a number of other things that you can do with defense. So in addition to working with defense equipment and support or defense digital on their normal tendering process for products and services, there are some research frameworks that are being hosted by DSTL, and they're listed here. So you can see things like Serapis, the Electronic Warfare and Cyber Construct, Astrid, and there are others. So if you work across domains, there are others. Essentially, DSTL gets a bag of cash to do research for the MOD. It also gets some money from frontline commands to do research for their procurement programs. But clearly DSTL, small organization of, I think about 3,500, so relatively small, is not going to try and do it all itself. But in line with government policy, we actually put a lot of that work out to industry and academia. So it's there, it's there to be grabbed. If anyone needs links, I can provide through Robin links to where these frameworks exist, but also some really useful sort of briefing slides on what they actually mean. When you go into these frameworks, you'll get more fidelity on, what do we mean by autonomous cyber resilience and so on. And basically by by going into this framework, if you have a particular offering, there's a potential for you to receive extramural research money and funding through the DSTL program directly. I would say as an insight, DSTL is actively recruiting right now in the cyber field, but across a lot of STEM subjects, in fact. And I seem to remember the figure of 150 over the coming year or so. Now, I can't remember if that was directly related to cyber, but that's a huge amount, reflected in the amount of funding and interest that's going on. And there's a genuine appeal from DSTL to get more people involved from the outside DSTL community to support the wider effort for both defense and security. So my role, I'm part of DASA, I'm part of our industry and academia outreach team. So I'm outward facing. We have people who face the customer. We have people who run our competitions, but I face outwards. I cover the southwest of England, but I'm one of 12 partners who do that sort of regional outreach. You can see the regions there across England, but also the devolved administrations. And finally, we have an international partner as well. So I don't envy him his job. But essentially, if you do cross boundaries nationally, or you have interest in another part of the country, there are people you can talk to. The reason I mention this is if you have an idea and you're just not sure if it's a fit for defense, we do have mechanisms for you to engage with me to get that initial, if you like, course check on whether it's worth you submitting a full proposal. I would advise you to do that, because actually submitting a full proposal, I know, takes time, money, and effort. And if I can help you, if it's a dead end, let's stop it. If it's a good idea, let's refine it. So that's part of my role. So my contact details are there, and I can be accessed via the gov.uk website. And with that, Robin, I think I'm done. Those are the contact details.